What happens when you stop trying to be discovered and start becoming the person you wish had discovered you? I'm Sarah, and this is Creatives Processing, where creatives reveal their process and process what it means to create. In this episode, I talked to music producer, film composer, and songwriter John Michael Rouchell. John Michael's career transformation is a masterclass in creative evolution. As a young musician, he felt this void, this absence of the mentor and collaborator he wanted. But instead of waiting for someone else to fill that void, he decided to become that person for others. This shift from seeking to serving completely transformed how he approaches creative work. It led him to produce a Grammy-winning album and create the soundscape for Disney's Tiana's Bayou adventure alongside legendary composer Terence Blanchard. In our conversation, John Michael shares an Alfred Hitchcock principle that became his creative compass, why he thinks servant leadership is actually the secret sauce, and his take on why collaboration might be the most rebellious thing you can do right now. All right, let's dive in. Here's my conversation with John Michael Rouchell. We've known each other for a long time now. I mean, since late 2000s, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. 2008, 2009.
Been a long time. But I knew you when you were in the fantastic band My Name is John Michael, and I relished going to see you play and I loved the heavy chains on the garbage cans and just your energy on stage and just seeing where your creative journey has taken you till now. Just, you have such a fan, just rooting for you.
Oh,
it's been amazing just watching your creative journey just flourish and all the achievements that you've had over the past couple of years. But can you, in your words, how did you get started?
Yeah, that's a great question. I thank you for the kind words, first of all, received. I started playing guitar when I was 10 and then started studying with Brian Stoltz, who was this guitar player who played with the Neville Brothers, Bob Dylan, Funky Meters, Dr. John, like all that kind of stuff. And then strangely got to play with George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic through a series of strange events when I was 15, and then had a bunch of bands, went on the road, did all those kind of things. And my life is sort of a story of, or I think the metaphor for me is that when I was an artist, I wanted so badly for a producer to come along, or a collaborator, or a mentor, or something of that nature to help me with my creative journey. And that void that I felt, slowly but surely, I would think about what I would want them to say, what I would want them to care about, what I would want them to do, all those kind of things, to where this void slowly became almost like a three-dimensional vessel. And then I kind of realized that I could be that I could fill that vessel for other people, right? And so it became a life of service more than like a life of sort of egoic, naming your band My Name is John Michael. You know what I mean? It's so slowly but surely, my life sort of became much more about serving other people's visions, and whether it's writing for a film or for a podcast like yourself, or producing other people's records. I sort of wanted to become the thing that I never had.
Yeah. What was that force on the pendulum that sort of shifted things the other way?
It would just became a thing where I realized I kind of saw in other people that was something that they would want as well. You know what I mean? I could see that, and it just became a skill thing. It was I started by playing guitar, and then someone had to write the songs, so I wrote the songs. And then it was maybe I'll front the band. Okay. Well, we need a producer. Okay, let me learn how to produce. Okay, wow, great mixers are really expensive and they could kill a budget. And so let me learn how to mix. And then, I'm learning how to engineer. Little by little, it just became this thing to where you kind of start to deal with each piece of the pipeline. And then you kind of just if you approach everything through service, you kind of just say, all right, what skills does each, particular scenario need, you know?
Yeah. So it's resourcefulness, like also really
For sure.
pragmatic, understanding like these things cost money, and also I think an incredibly, I said resourceful, but just being like, that sort of like go-getter attitude of like, you know what, fuck it, I will learn how to do this myself. And there are plenty of other people who, were in our musicians who are quite happy with just doing that one thing, and that's it, that's all they need to do, and somebody else can take care of the rest of it for me. But I think that, really, that's like a core like tenet of like who you are as a person, wanting to, that curiosity and that drive to continually improve and learn, and of course, like that is tied to service of like how can I use these, it's not just for myself, but how can I use these for other people.
1,000%. Like I'm super compulsive and curious is the word. Like it's one of those things, like I'll go see a movie and then like, sometimes my wife will be like, okay, see you in 3 days. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, I want to know everything there is to know about the DP or the composer or what they've used, all that. I'm obsessive, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, it becomes one of those things that like, I'm curious. And then it just becomes also like, I would rather lose knowing that I gave everything I could towards something, you know what I mean? Than like, I, like I, winning by chance is fine and dandy, you know what I mean? Like, but it's not as fulfilling as like, to me, I'm a product person. Like I like making the thing more than sort of accolades or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like the result is kind of out of your hands, right? Like, and so it's always been this thing of like, can I get closer to fulfilling the thing that's in my head? And that just usually means like learning and more jobs or more sort of roles or exploring different things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it becomes like, it's like this, it's this itch that'll never totally go away.
Yeah. Were you like that as a kid? Like what would like, but prior to like learning guitar at 10, like what other obsessive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a baseball player. Like I thought I was going to play professional
No
baseball. I was
way.
convinced. Yeah, absolutely. But everybody grew and I didn't.
But
You know
also
what I
like
mean?
Louisiana didn't have a major league team. So like
No. But
why
it was like,
baseball?
I don't know. It was like my father was really into baseball. Like the 80s was like you had the Ozzie Smith Cardinals, you had the like Ryan Sandberg Cubs, you know what I mean? It was kind of a glory, like, I don't know. I think it was like a really nice time for that.
Yeah.
TV, cable television was a thing, right? So you could like on a random day watch a whole game. That was like super novel and nice at the time. And also, I thought it was like, what I loved about the game was is each person sort of had a role to play, and you could find like what skills you had that could fit into this equation,
Yeah.
which is very much like producing records or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? It becomes that thing of like, you're sort of analyzing, oh, wow, this person's really fast. So maybe, having them lead off might be smart because we might be able to steal a base, whatever. Um, or, whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, baseball was an obsession, man, like deep.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it just became a thing, like, I started realizing it was like, oh, wow, if you're not like the son of the coach and, if you're not, and I'm short, man, I'm like 5'7". So it was like, that's not happening. So the arts just became a place where it was like, oh, I can express myself, and, and keep this thing going.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine if you continue to pursue baseball, like you'd either be managing the team or you'd be one of those like insanely talented players that was able to like, yeah, put me in coach wherever you need me. Like I could pitch, I could catch, I could do it all. Like all of it
No,
was
I am not an
interesting.
athlete. There's a certain amount of like, athletic stuff that you need, and I do not have that. I probably would be like the nerdy Jonah Hill
Yep.
data analytics person.
Oh, absolutely.
I think I could have done that. That would have been fun.
I was put into sports when I was younger. I only played softball, and I just, I think it was like until like 8th grade I played or so, but like I think it was pretty clear early on that athleticism was not for me, because I was more interested in just like sitting down in the outfield with my mitt on my head and just picking flowers. And there's just my dad in the stands like, blah, 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 what
Oh
are
my
you doing? And
God.
I'm like, hi.
Hello. Yes.
Hello.
That's like
Thanks
my
for
daughter,
waving.
man.
Thanks for being here.
That thing when you can find your own identity as a person, I think that's like, that was another big piece of it too, right? Like for me, like music was like, not a lot of my peers did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it kind of became mine. And I think when you're at that age of like, 12, 13, 14, like identity formation becomes such a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, it was like this really positive reinforcement of like, oh, if I put, the metaphorical 25 cents in the machine, like something comes back.
Yeah.
Like, this is nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not the thing that comes back for everybody else.
Yeah. And I found that once going into high school, I found that in throwing myself completely into the arts. So I was in multiple school bands, and, putting that metaphorical 25 cents in, the more I practice, the more recognition from instructors I got. And then I was able to see my progress as a clarinetist go all the way up to first chair. And then I was acting in school dramas and musicals and in pit band and all of those things. And but it wasn't until towards the end of high school that I realized, okay, these are all things that I really love doing, but I don't know how to make a career out of these things, because I recognize like I have a lot of fun doing these and I have a lot of personal satisfaction from them, but I don't have the drive nor the talent nor the desire to pursue any of these things full time. So that's when I went back to art, which was like the first thing as like a toddler. Like
I would also add stupidity. Like, you know what I mean? Like good brazen stupidity. It's kind of important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To kind of have like a bit of both, right? Like you have to have like that drive and all those things. And then this kind of blind ignorance of like, fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is, it's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I will say in our defense, like when we were coming up, right? Like you could still sell a plastic disc for like $17 with a variable cost of $1. I mean, that was like drug dealing money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is no longer the case now, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so that's another piece of this like constant change, is that like, oh yeah, I don't want to go on the road, but that's like how you make money as a performer. Oh yeah, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Or like, and so constantly having that center of who you are, but then like evolving at the edges kind of thing.
It's that, again, that pragmatism of there are things that I like, but I think there are ways that, I mean, we live in a capitalist society, and if we want to pursue art, there needs to be some trade-offs there. So how can we do the art, but then also do the living in a comfortable situation where I know that I'm able to pay rent. I know I'm able to feed myself and travel when needed. There are certain, trade-offs there. Maybe I'm not the starving artist that I could have imagined myself to be, but I never wanted to be. It was always, how can I translate this love of art into something that is marketable and is hireable for a salary.
Yes. Same, dude. I mean, like, I kind of think the starving artist thing, like, yeah, maybe it was like, there's like a romanticism around it that I kind of dislike.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's a strain. Like, it's a stressor. Like, it's hard enough to make good stuff, man. You know what I mean? It's hard enough to make something that people go, yes, I like that more, or whatever. You know what I mean? Or yes, I'm delighted, or I'm giving you my time and I feel like you've, fulfilled my expectations. It's hard enough, man. Or money or whatever, right? Like, that's hard enough. And then to adding all those kind of stressors, like, oh yeah, I'm going to starve and that kind of stuff. Like, that's not good for the art. I just don't think it is.
I find these days, I mean, I'm curious for you too. I get so wrapped up in the work that it's not art anymore. And that's fine. But then I need to find ways to continue to create art. But I never carve out the time. At this point, as at this moment in recording, I never carve out the time to make the art. At this point, creating this podcast is the art for me. And I'm so curious, like, are you creating for yourself at all right now? And
long pause. I think it changes, right? Like, I think when you're younger, I think the definition of what it is to create for yourself changes. And like, at the risk of like sounding a little slippery, I think when I was, in my 20s, like, creating for myself meant like, how do I make things that will, make the world appreciate me or notice me or whatever, right? It was like this egoic thing. I think now, having my daughter, being a little older, I think a lot more about like, what am I going to leave behind? And like, I think about that idea, like, and not to be macabre, but like, I think about mortality. I think about like
daily.
Okay, what are you going to plant? You know what I mean? Like, what seeds are you planting so that like one day they'll be, will they still be there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is this something that's going to last? So the work that I'm doing now, yeah, I mean, like, it's of service, but it's also like, I'm hoping, and I hope that, and I know that this is very not 2025, but I whether it's AI or whatever, do it all yourself. Like, there's this narrative out in the world that you can do everything yourself and just, tip to tail, own the whole thing. I tried to live that way for a while, and I just didn't find it to be fulfilling. And so now I think the most punk rock thing you can do, and the thing that satisfies me the most, is to like band together with people, recognize each other's magic, and pluralistically march together towards a common goal.
Yes.
Like, that to me feels awesome in 2025, So, I think when I was a kid, that might not have been as fulfilling.
Sure.
Now it's super fulfilling.
Different values. I mean, now it's towards service, and back then, in your own words, was more ego driven. My name is John Michael. I still love the name. Yeah. I still love the name,
Well, it started as a website. I mean, it wasn't meant, I didn't even like, it was a website, and like, I was putting up a song, like I was writing, recording, releasing a song a week. And it was just like, hey world, this is who I am. And then it was like, well, what are you going to call it? Well, that's the website. I guess that's what it's going to, but it's like, yeah, it was very like pound your chest, like, look at me kind of thing.
Well, naming is so wild anyway. Like, I mean, ever since like, once we got AOL in like the early 2000s, it was like just changing my email address like every couple of months because I was never satisfied.
What was your AIM profile?
Oh no. Devil Cat 130.
Let's go.
And
I was nervousness 808, which makes perfect sense. It was like electronic drum machines and like nervousness and like, I didn't realize that it was literally anxiety.
Yeah.
But,
yours is so much better. Mine was because we were a big snack family. So I loved a devil dog, but I liked cats better at the time. So it was Devil Cat. But then I had to like sign up for altar server duty with that email. And my mom was like, you got to change it. You heathen, you got to change it. So I changed it to Angel Cat 130. And at that point I was like, people are giving me comments on like what my email address should be. I'm like, this is just bullshit at this point. But but I loved My Name is John Michael because, I mean, it's your name and, distinguishing yourself from your father, it's like, there's different names here. So I thought it was like, there was a nice twist on that.
We love Oedipus and killing your father and all that.
But I mean, I just love your dad though. Like your dad said,
well, he's a funny man.
I still will never forget the first Mardi Gras we went to that we joined you at. He said like, she took to Mardi Gras like a fish took to water.
Yeah, dude, you were catching all the good beads.
Oh,
Sarah.
very rare beads. Very rare beads we got.
Very rare. very rare beads. Yeah, absolutely. You were in there, man. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that shows your your ability to commit and to just
Yeah.
jump in,
My ability to
which is a
commit
big trait,
and
you know?
how early on I was living my life to like the improv principle of yes and. It's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's
Absolutely.
go. I am
It's such a
recognizing,
powerful tool, isn't
yes.
it?
It's like I'm recognizing your reality and I'm supporting you in this scene that we call like just existing with each other. It's like, yeah, I'm game. Let's do it.
Yeah, fuck it, dude. Let's
Fuck it.
go.
Let's do it.
You know, like, yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think, to me, yes, it's funny, man. That yes and thing comes up so much, man. It's like, I didn't realize how much of how powerful that tool
Yeah.
is, and to just let an idea have its time,
Yeah.
because like, I don't know, I don't know if you're this way, but like, I think when I was younger, I was like, I wanted to get to the thing so fast. You know what I mean? Like efficiency, like,
Oh, yeah.
and just, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like now, a little older, a little wiser, and you kind of go like, I don't think that's gonna work. But you know what? What's the worst thing that
Yeah.
happens? I lose 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
And
there's something to that kind of separating the editor and the creator kind of thing.
mhm.
Because sometimes the editor wants to get in there a little fast.
Yep.
Um,
And that makes me think, I mean,
yeah.
that's where like the root of my obsession with process, especially creative process, has taken form.
Hence.
Just in the how can I, especially it's also like the New Yorker in me, like how can I get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, interacting with the fewest amount of just crowds in the city
Yeah.
that I'm born and raised in. Like, how can I get from point A to point B? And that's translated to, okay, I have a lot of work to do. How can I get to the end as quickly as possible? Like, what's the most efficient way? And then wanting to know about other people's creative process and thinking, how are they doing it? Are there insights that I can glean from this to make me more productive, to make me work more efficiently? What am I doing wrong that I could be doing right? And that obsession has stayed with me, but now it's more of I'm just interested, and I'm not looking to, I'll get some insights from it, but it's not from this desperate need to raise my productivity to become a more desirable candidate for any job or whatever.
You said doing something wrong. I just gotta push back on that.
No,
man.
yeah.
I don't think that's a thing.
No,
man.
yeah.
I don't think that's a thing.
I'm
Like,
with you now. Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's interesting how, I don't know, life gets more gray as like, or like horses for courses kind of thing. It's like something that's completely wrong for one thing can be so right for another. And like, I think maybe that's maturity, maybe that's just experience, but I think that's a big piece of this,
Yeah. Yeah. I think, with that obsessive tinkering, and that's part of that could be perfectionism and wanting the product to be as pristine as possible, because the most pristine and perfect it is, the more likable it is, the more desirable it is to have. And I've worked through that for so long, still working on it. It's just I think maybe it's like an eldest daughter thing, first grandchild. I don't know what it is, but it's like having to always holding myself up to standards, because I know that other people are looking at me, and making sure that I'm living up to the standards that others hold me to, that have become my standards that I hold other people to, and trying to unlearn all of that to just, hey, it's a journey, man.
You ain't the only one, sister. You ain't the only one. I mean, I joke with people. Everybody kind of looks at me like I'm crazy, but I'm like, no one hates me more than me.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I am
and
right
like,
there with you.
and like you get this thing outside of yourself that you can like mold and all that, which is really just you trying to mold yourself and blah, 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 without getting too Jungian and all that. Like, I think that's really what a lot of this is, man.
Yeah.
Like being a product person and going like, okay, how can I, I mean, it's also like trying to, not make the same mistakes and like, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, man. I think so much of like, I don't know about you, but like I always start with the end, meaning like, have you ever heard this quote that Alfred Hitchcock did? Someone asked him like, how do you start your movies? Like, how do you start making a movie?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And Hitchcock was like, I envision a couple walking out of the movie I'm about to make. I think about the conversation that I want them to have and the feeling that I want them to walk away from the movie. Like what feeling I want them to have when they walk away from the movie. And then I just make the movie that I know is going to make them feel that way.
So it's not even the ending of the movie. It's like
No.
the feeling. Like what's the response to the art?
Yes. The resonance. Like what do I want you like inside of your body to feel or mind or whatever. And ever since I heard that, I was like, oh, that's how I'm going to live my life from now on.
I love that.
You know?
So thinking about, we're going to talk about a couple projects.
Yeah, dude.
Have you used that principle with
everything?
Everything?
Yeah, everything. Probably since, I think I heard about that like in 2013, 14, 15, somewhere in there. And it became this North Star for me. And then the other thing that became a North Star was like, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about this at some point, but like I got really burnt out on entertainment. And I went back to grad school and got my MBA in data analytics and strategy because I'm a nerd. And in MBA strategy, I had this professor who was like goals, metrics, methods, resources in that order. And it became like this mantra where, so between that, like really being able to define a goal and understanding what a goal is and seeing how many people often change their goals based upon metrics or methodologies, and how deleterious and sort of like destructive that can be.
Sure.
So understanding that. And then the Hitchcock thing, that's it. That's all. Like everything else is like a detail.
Yeah.
But like at the sort of big broadsword primary colors thing, that's it.
Yeah. In my work, it's I kick off not every project, kind of depends on the client, but if it's like we're creating like a visual identity for a brand, it's like, what are the goals? How do we define the strategy for getting there? And like, what are the emotions that we're trying to achieve?
You're doing the same thing
by the end of it. It's like, that's how we determine the success of it. Like we have our strategy, what our goals are. All creative decisions are aligned with that. And without establishing that in the beginning, what you're creating is just noise.
You're adrift.
Yeah.
Do you have to sometimes, like, I feel this way. Do you ever feel like you're almost like a Sherpa or like a personal trainer or something?
Absolutely.
It's like, no, you said you wanted this. Nope.
Yes.
I feel like that's like 50% of what I do. Like once we lock into what that thing is, like what we want people to feel, what the goal is, how we're going to measure the goal, the method, all that kind of stuff. I find that like people just get squirmy.
Yes.
Right.
And you know, every client is different. I had one that really, and I loved how enthusiastic she was through every step of creating her identity for her brand. And she was inspired by everything. You know, it could be she saw something on her walk that day, or you know, and it was. Yep. And again, then it goes back to yes, and it's okay. I recognize like this is important to you. Let's talk about the symbolism behind what you're thinking. Let's refer it back to the goals. And if it aligns with the goals, like we can pursue this. But a lot of it was, you know, it's my I have to do the due diligence to guide them back to what the goals are. Because otherwise, like, why are you paying me to do this for you? You know, just go to Canva, just go to, you know, our delightful robot friends and just type in ba 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 ba, and then you get whatever slop they generate, and that's that. You know, having somebody who can like guide, it's guidance, and I feel like that's the majority of my work at this point. Like when it actually comes to I was thinking the other day, like, you know, there's a book that I read. It was gifted to me right after I graduated college called The Crossroads of Should and Must. And
ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's a good read, and it's like beautifully illustrated with like watercolor type and everything. But it says like, you know, what if your job could be your career, could be your calling? And as a new grad, it was like, yes, all of this needs to align. And I have to identify what the shoulds are in my life and what the musts are. Like you should have a 9 to 5. You should go to college, you should all of these things, but like, what are the musts that are the non-negotiables? And over time, that's like kind of shifted. But like what has come down to me has been, being able to, I don't necessarily feel like, the book really talks about like, finding, if you're finding joy in absolutely everything that you're working on, like that's success. Like everything, you're not working, you're just living. And that's what I wanted to do for the longest time, was just to find, I make sure I'm happy every day, and everything that I'm doing, I'm finding joy in. But now, do I find joy in sifting through 1,000 fonts to find the right one for a client? I don't know if I find joy in it, but I find it's the deep satisfaction in the end that I've created something that resonates with people and that the client is happy with, feels that I've done my job. And like, that is satisfaction versus, ooh, I'm playing around with, colors and just generating and then seeing what works together. And just like, that's work. Work doesn't have to be fun all the time. It doesn't have to be fun at all.
I think that's the service thing, right? Like satisfaction is service, right? Like you're helping beautify people, places, things, right?
Yeah.
And so by the end of it, that like they're going to walk away with some kind of good feeling, goodwill, like maybe it pushes them forward, whatever. And I'm with you, man. It's interesting. It's like, I used to love just playing guitar, like, and I still do. Like, I like playing guitar, but like the canvas changes a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like, then you start going like, well, that's only a piece of the thing. It's like, but I'd rather, I don't know. To your point, I think it's just one of those things that like when you go around the horn with those things and go like through the revolutions of like nothing and then something and then not, you know what I mean? You kind of know what it becomes a little more predictable, and like you kind of see where people are going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think it's more satisfactory to sort of save them from themselves and make something good than it is. I mean, it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
And sometimes the things that you don't think are working are the things that work the best. Like, because you're not the best. Who knows? I mean, like it's just your perspective.
Yeah.
It's a weird, imperfect art.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the art that you've made.
Yes.
Let's kick off. So we're going to talk about 3 projects today.
Okay.
First off, let's talk about the Grammy-winning album you worked on last year.
Yes. Okay. So the album is Avery Sunshine's So Glad to Know You. My friend Jameson Ross, who executive produced the record, brought me on to kind of help write the songs and to help kind of design the sound of the record. And kind of, I had just produced Jameson's record right before it. Right. And so he kind of wanted to run the same play, but with a different person, with Avery Sunshine, with Denise. And they went and tracked some ideas and things. And then he kind of quickly realized like, oh, ideas are not songs. And there's another step. And like, so then he called me, I kind of helped him get the songs together, little sound design. And then we kind of started, like we really worked on getting her performances to really, really work. She's an incredible singer.
Yeah.
But incredible singers don't necessarily make great records, which is a weird thing to think about. It's kind of a different medium. Sometimes one of the biggest lessons I've learned in this music thing is like the skills that you attain to be a really good live musician sometimes can be the exact skills that will destroy a recording.
Talk a little bit about that. I'm curious.
For sure. I would love to. So like if you think about most vocals, like particularly right now in like this headphone era, right? Like so much now, like a lot of people aren't belting things. Additionally, like you have like preamps and compressors and all these kind of things to sort of really grab a vocal and make it sit and be really nice. And sometimes when you overload a microphone, it's not pleasing to the ear, right? I have a friend who, Mr. Alvin Ford Jr. is an incredible drummer. He had a gig with Raphael Sadiq, who Raphael's written and produced, D'Angelo and all these things along the way. Incredible. And Tony.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just crazy. So Alvin gets on this gig, and it's the first day, and he's trying to prove to Raphael, like, you hired the right guy. So he sits behind the drums and he starts like bashing out this tune called The World Is Drunk. And Raphael and all the guys turn around. They're like, and Raphael's like, man, you sound great, man. I played drums on that song on the recording. Can I show you how I recorded them? And Alvin's like, oh, yeah, shit. Yeah, sure, man. And instead of, the way Alvin was playing it, Raphael gets behind the kit and he's like whispering on the drums. He's like,
yeah.
And he's like, hey, man, the drums are connected to microphones, which are connected to preamps, which are connected to compressors, and they love when you whisper in their ear.
Ugh.
And then Alvin called me and he was like, man, I think I figured out how to record drums.
Yeah.
And we spent 2 weeks in the studio. And so it was like things like that, right? And so that's what I mean by, like, great singers don't necessarily make great records,
Sure.
right? There's a lot of people who are very poor singers that make really great records. There's a lot of records where they're great singers that are great records, but it's not a prerequisite. And so I think the thing with Denise was getting authentic performances that were reflective of who she is, right? And I think up until that point, I think she did a lot of her own vocal production and like kind of picking what takes to use and things of that nature. And it's like someone picking photographs of themselves. Like, they don't know where their beauty is. They don't know necessarily where, it's that kind of thing. And sometimes I notice this a lot with singers. Like, they'll do this thing where they're, at least for me, I'm trying to get to the take where they're discovering the song in front of you and you just so happen to be recording it, right? Because I think people can hear that and feel that. And then, so usually what happens is like, first take, they don't know the song, so they're stumbling and fumbling. Second take, they know it a little bit better. Third, fourth or fifth take, they discover it. And it's like, oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, great. Can you just give me one or two more? And they're like, what? I'm just getting warm. And you're like, oh, no, just trust me.
Yeah.
And then they sing one or two more and they're like, yeah, let me keep going. Okay, yeah, keep going. And then this weird thing happens where they sing something where they're over pushing and it feels really good in their body, but it doesn't feel good on the speakers. And then they'll inevitably walk into the control room and they'll say, like, yeah, that last one felt so good. And then you play it and then they listen to it and they're like, I don't like, and then their natural reaction is let me go do 5 more.
Yeah.
And really, you need someone there to be like, hey, do you want to hear the one that we all fell in love with? So you have to be strong enough to say, like, we know what's good for you.
Yeah.
Right. And to the point of like the pluralism and like people's magic and all those things and like earning people's trust and all that kind of stuff. Like, that was so much of that record, like these are people who are making like beautiful, amazing, deep, like rooted in African-American church traditions, like, and gospel music and soul and R&B and all these things. And here's this like little white kid showing up going like, I know the take that's, and so a lot of it was like earning trust. But I think once they kind of realize like, oh, we're all trying to fight for the same thing, they were like, oh, we like this dude. He's just a crazy little white boy.
That is such an interesting point. Like, I talk about that with so many people. Just, I don't know if it's always been that way or this is something that's kind of cropped up because of the climate that we're in. But understanding that when you're working together, having positive presumptions. Like, we're all working towards the same thing. There's no ego here. We're looking to like, what is the end goal? What's the end product? We're just trying to make the best possible thing. And I may give you critical feedback, but it's coming from a place of like, it's It's radical candor, man. It's not manipulative insincerity. Like, I'm going to tell.
Well, sometimes you got to manipulate people to get to the thing.
But like a sincere manipulation. It's like,
yeah,
I have.
but with benevolence. You know what I mean? Like trying to go to your point. Like we're all trying to get to the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree, man. I think it's also like, I don't know if this is this way with visual tools, but like in audio tools, they're meant to be editing tools more than they are capturing tools. And so naturally, people want to unnecessarily compulsively edit things and try to achieve something that looks like perfect. It's like kind of like people who you remember Facetune?
Mm-hmm.
It's like when people would Facetune themselves too much. Yeah. And it's like, oh, you look
Uncanny
like
Valley.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's kind of like, so over time, like I'm realizing that's like a big piece of it for me, particularly when working with talented people, like people who can really sing, is you have to like protect them from themselves. Yeah. Cause they'll zap the magic, man.
Yeah.
They just will. And like, fun fact, 95% of the vocal performances on David Bowie's Hunky Dory and Ziggy Stardust from Mars were the first take.
No way.
70% of the vocals on Motown recordings were the demo.
Why is that? Was it just...
I think it's about discovering the thing, man. Like they treated these tools more like photography and less like editing tools.
Okay. And I think
because ease of editing, right? Yeah. Like we can face tune something to death.
Yeah.
We can auto tune something
to
death.
We have the ability to, so we may as well use it.
And so we do it. Because we think that we're trying to reach some more perfect thing, as opposed to realizing that like, oh no, the point of this is to try to get the person that's in front of you to the speakers. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like,
yeah,
that's kind of, and it's the whole thing, right? Like sometimes singers want to stack their vocals and do like multiple, sing like 8, 10, 20, 30 stacks of vocals. It's like, I kind of like it when it's just you.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Sure.
Because you're being vulnerable, but sometimes you need like a crazy mustachioed person to like show up and be like, no, this is what trust me, this is what they're gonna want. Like,
Yeah. And I guess like, that is so aligned with like who you are as a person, who you are now, as time has gone on, you moved into more of like service direction. Yeah. But I also find like, it's, have you worked with people where maybe you're not the right fit?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I think you got to kind of like, it's weird, man. Cause I'm passionate.
Yes.
Okay. And like, I'm a spark plug and I'm fiery, and that can freak people out. But I think that's necessary, man. Like, I think there's something to like, I love, on sports teams, I love the guys who are like the energy players, like Dennis Rodman and like that kind of thing. That's where it's just like, you need that. Yeah. You need that kind of person who's just going to be like, no, fuck it, we're going,
yeah.
And I think for a lot of artists, once again, to that, like, what would I want a producer to do thing? To me, like for the right artist, to be able to be somebody who's like running out and being like, no, I'm going to take on the first shots.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. I'm crazy enough to deal with it. All I'm trying to do then is get them to realize that like they can do it too.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes people look at that and they're like, whoa, I don't know. And they're unwilling to take the walk.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is okay. Like, but I think you got to kind of be yes, I work with people all the time where it's not the right thing.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the times it's like what they say they want and what they're willing to do are two different things.
Absolutely.
Because I take people at their word. when they say they want something, I'm like, okay, that's what the fuck we're going to do. And that scares people sometimes.
And I'm sure that must be scary for you too, because you may find in the middle of working together that this just isn't meshing. Like, you have your standards, you know how you work. And if people say one thing and they mean another, it's like, do you walk away from a project at that point? So the fear of like, all right, well, I was going to get paid for this. And
sometimes, I mean, like when, the record, the sort of predecessor to the Avery Sunshine record, because we ran the same play for Jameson's record and her record. It just so happened that like the stars aligned a certain which way for hers. Like, I'm not saying hers is better, his is better, or anything. Like, it just is. Like, sometimes things go a certain way. But there was a point with Jameson's record, like, because, Jameson was signed to Concord, which was a jazz label. And usually when you're a jazz singer, because talented people get signed, particularly talented African-American artists get signed by jazz labels. And then the jazz label says, well, the thing you need to do is you need to go and sing these standards these songs that everybody knows, but do them your way. And we're going to book 2 days in the studio and you're going to sing the standards and then someone's going to mix it. And then the record's done by the following Friday. Right. And so when we were a month into Jameson's record, because we were writing all the songs, our whole goal was to try to make it more like soul, R&B, speak to those kind of people, to change the demographic of people that would go see him, as opposed to like older white folks, like more younger black folks and all these kind of things. I vividly remember a conversation. He called me on a Sunday and he was like, dude, this is ridiculous. He's like, we're a month into this. Like how long is this going to take? And I was like, it's going to take what it takes.
Yeah.
But this is what you said you wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, it was a knockdown, drag out. I just wouldn't budge.
Yeah.
And I think he saw that as like a really, that was awesome for me. Because he's so friggin' talented.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of the best drummers I know. He's one of the best singers I know. He's just like a freak. But it's that thing. It's the Sherpa, right? It's like, you said you wanted this.
Yeah.
So we're going to do what it takes.
Yeah.
Otherwise we're changing your goal. And if you want to change the goal, cool. There's somebody else who can do this better than me.
Yeah.
So
do you find now, within your industry, like you said, you're running the same play for Jameson and for Avery Sunshine. Does that become like your signature?
No.
Okay.
No.
People are like, give me the Avery Sunshine treatment. They're just, it's more like,
I haven't gotten that phone call. I mean, which is cool, but I wouldn't even want to do that.
Okay.
Like, cause I don't think that's like to the point of like process. Like, I think the first thing you have to do is like really analyze what makes somebody magical.
Yeah. And how do you do that? What does that look like?
I'm just an audience member, man. Like, I mean, you've watched so many films, you've heard so many records. Yeah. You know what I mean? You've looked at so many campaigns, etc. Like, you just kind of know where somebody aligns with a certain thing and where it starts vibrating for you. I mean, that was like it's one of those things. Like, the other thing too is I'm always thinking about things like, there was a pirate from New Orleans or Louisiana called Jean Lafitte, and he defeated the British in one of the like wars, right? Like, you had this incredible British Navy, and here's this like crazy little pirate who, because he knew the swamps and sort of the terrain, he was able to, with less resources, beat a much more formidable opponent.
Yeah.
And so constantly I'm trying to look at people and go like, where is the one place we can go that nobody else can go?
Yeah.
Like, where's that for you? Because chances are, in this weird, fragmented, algorithmic world, we can actually play towards that and say like, who likes, what is a emo record with, anime references, with weird synths and whatever. It's like, it sounds like a bad idea, but like, I think there's an audience for that.
Like, I'm the audience. I want to. I was like, what?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, but I'm not a big Lin-Manuel Miranda fan, but like when I saw Hamilton, I was like, oh man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like this dude loves history, hip hop, and like theater and like Sondheim.
Yeah.
And he figured out how to like, there's like that's such a bad idea. But because he went all the way through with it, people were like, yes.
Fully, just whatever you do, fully commit.
Yes, man. And so it's like, I think that, so no, I'm not, I can't make blueprint art. I have to like look at somebody and hear somebody and go, oh man, I would love to hear you like this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like lighting somebody or like, a certain angle of how you see them. And like, I get to be a fan. I get to be the first audience member.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that. Fun. Yeah. I get it when I start to feel really excited about where a project is going. And I'm like, I can't wait for this to be out in the world and like see it and engage with it. It's like, I'm creating something that aligns with their goals. But like, as an audience member, as a consumer, I'm like, this I'm excited about. Speaking of being excited and Lin-Manuel Miranda, have you heard his Warriors concept album?
No, is it sick?
It's actually kind of awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I know you love the Warriors.
I mean, Tom and I dressed up as Luther with the bottles, and I was one of the baseball Furies one year for Halloween. So yeah, we really love the Warriors. It's rad.
I was going to say, like, I'm glad he delivered. Because I know you love
I know.
I get scared sometimes because like sometimes when it becomes like I couldn't, I love Bob Dylan through and through. I couldn't go see that movie. I can't bring myself to go
I haven't seen it yet either. Yeah.
Because it's like I have like a Bob Dylan inside of me that is like so real.
Sure.
And like beyond real. It's like I like have a relationship with him. You know what I mean? And so like I can't, as much as that,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't, it's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it fun.
And it's also the music biopic too. It's just so formulaic. I mean, one of my favorite movies of all time is Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, because it just skewers it. And you think after that point, there's no way they could ever make a music biopic. It's like, no, they're going to, because now they have the perfect formula for it. And they're just going to.
And Spinal Tap, like, oh my God. Like, it's so funny because I love Christopher Guest and like those kind of things where you can satirize something and get so granularly specific.
And their process is so interesting. Like he has them like here's like the outline of generally what we're doing. Like it's, Best in Show. It's like, it's dog handlers, dog pageant. You create your characters. Here's like the basic outline, and they create the characters. They live that improv. They are figuring out like who these characters are, and it's mostly, the majority of it is improv. And there's like so much footage, and then it's just kind of chipped away to make the movie. It's fascinating.
But that's where the magic stuff is, right? Like that's the happy accidents, the like, oh whoa, like that's another thing, right? To always be, I feel like, and this only happened to me in the last decade or so. Like I always thought like to the process point, I thought it was like, oh, you write a thing, you go into the studio, you record the thing. And it was very compartmentalized.
Yep.
Exactly. To that point, and to me, I just realized like more and more as I get older that everything kind of overlaps. I mean,
absolutely.
Granted, the laptop and like all those kind of things, the way that we're able to make art allows us to kind of go in between phases. But I think constantly, it's that John Cleese from Monty Python. He has that like thing about the open mode versus the closed mode.
Yep.
And I'm trying and he talked about how one of the guys in Monty Python sketches were always better because he would just be willing to stay in the open mode like that much longer than everybody else, to where it wasn't like, okay, we got to finish. Like, and as I get older, I understand that more. To your point of like, how do you kind of stay open, like, okay, Christopher Guest and those guys are like, the movie's going to make itself. We'll figure it out.
Figure it out.
Like,
yeah. And for some people, like that being the process is madness. Where it's like, what do you mean there's no script? What do you mean you're just it's gonna be an editing and that's when it comes together? But it's iterative. Like you're letting people, you're creating this safe space for people to be artistic and be creative, and having that guiding force, that Sherpa. For Christopher Guest, it's the one he's in the editing and he's understanding like this is how we're stringing this along, and it's just
man. That's it to me. I think that's, I think we're all kind of trying to get to the same thing. They call it magic. They call it entertaining. They call it whatever. And we're finding our own way of getting there,
Yeah. What is, because like you're on that journey through the swamp. Like what?
John Lafitte.
John Lafitte. Is it Lafitte?
Lafitte.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, I wasn't sure if it was like a foot, or like Lafitte.
I mean, no, like French feet, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
Lafitte.
Yeah. What does that aha moment look like for you? And I'm sure it's different for every project, but like, what does it take to get to that point?
Oh man, it's different every time. But it's that thing, like something happens where I go like, oh, all of a sudden it feels like I do this thing with my hands where it goes whoop, like an alignment thing. Mm-hmm. Like it all of a sudden feels like, oh, the thing that we're trying to achieve and what you're doing, you're a one with the character, like the person, like the way that you're singing or the subject, and like it all aligns, right? Yeah. The words line up to the melody, which lines up to the feeling that we're trying to achieve with the character of who we're trying to, and sometimes it requires like a little bit more coaching. Sometimes it just happens naturally. Yeah. You just never know. It's kind of that, like, when you see it thing, but you have to that's sometimes where the manipulation stuff comes in. And I mean it in the most benevolent sense.
Absolutely.
Like, just because you're trying, like, I'm never trying to like push somebody around, but I'm just trying to get the thing to be as aligned as possible. So that, like, I was listening to Birds of a Feather this morning, the Billie Eilish record. What I love about that song is if you like listen to the track by itself, like if you can isolate that in your mind, it's like very smooth and happy sounding. Mm-hmm. But she does this really great job of like having this kind of dark, achy lyrics. And the performance of the song has this like desperation and like kind of, it's almost like a dark Jodie Benson Little Mermaid thing. Okay. Like she doesn't let all the notes out. And like all of a sudden, like you can kind of see when the picture of that relationship and that love becomes like a real thing, where it's like, it's not just like a love song. It becomes like this specific type of love that only this song can say. Yeah. Right. And only you, the singer, can say this particular thing because it's true to you and true to the feeling we're trying to evoke. Yeah. Right. And so it's this aligning thing. And so you're constantly trying to just push people around to like, okay, no, it's not that. Okay. And then when it happens, it's just like, yep, we're done. Yeah.
And I love, I want to come back to like, it's a feeling, and it's just, it's from years of experience. And it's the human emotion, like you're feeling. And I think a lot about how, AI is looking to replace, or maybe not AI is looking to replace creative work, but there are people looking for AI to replace creative work to just make it more efficient and, less expensive. But, we had a great conversation a bit back about, you were likening, the rise of automated tools within the creative industry to GMOs and organic food in like the late 80s, early 90s. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Of course. All right. So in the 80s, well, Monsanto was this company, and like, I know this, like, okay, I believe in science. I think it is good. All of these things. This is not some weird conspiracy.
Nope, we live in a day and age where you need to. I believe in science.
I believe in science. Yes. Okay. Monsanto existed, right? And like one of the big things, and still exists, one of the things that they tried to develop and did develop was genetically modified food. The idea behind it was, okay, we have this giant population growth. We'll be able to create higher supply of this thing called food, and, better living through chemistry instead of, tilling the soil and doing this, that, and the third. We'll be able to make it in laboratories and would be more predictable, more efficient, right? We'll use technology to create more supply. Okay. So in 1989, they come to market with their first GMO consumer product. Up until and then in 1990, the US government passed an act called the Organic Food Act, which basically laid out what it meant for a food to be organic. Because before GMOs, food was just food, right? And then all of a sudden there's this sort of split. You have GMO food and then organic food. I think something similar is going to come with AI art and human art. I don't know exactly how it's going to go. I know Adrienne Lenker from Big Thief did this thing that was kind of interesting on her last solo record, where she certified at AAA in that the recording was all analog, no digital things were used for the recording. The mixing was all analog, the mastering was all analog. So AAA, right? I don't know if that's necessarily exact. As I sit here with an Apple laptop on another Apple laptop in front of you.
I'll erase the product placement. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
Perfectionism.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fine. It's fine.
But I don't know if it's going to go like that, but I think there's going to be some sort of way. Like, I think I also don't think the U.S. government is going to be the people to decide what it's going to be, because we continue to elect octogenarians who don't even understand what an iPhone is, let alone what a large language model is. So I think it's going to be incumbent upon artists to sort of teach their audience their process.
Yeah.
Not to, I thought there was another thing that was so clever. Like Ryan Coogler had that little video before Sinners where he was like, this is why I shot this on film. This is why I shot this on 70 millimeter IMAX. This is why I did this. This is what you are purchasing when you come to the theater to do these things, and educating the people who are going to see his films so that it infuses them with things. Like, think about, okay, GMO foods, organic foods. We then have an explosion of farm to table, right? Mm-hmm. Anthony Bourdain is traveling the world looking for the best cacio e pepe, R.I.P. the king, best noodles, cheese, and pepper. It's not because he can't get noodles, cheese, and pepper. There's something else that he's looking for, right? And so my hope is like, from an optimistic standpoint, organic food since 1990 has grown year over year, 20% every year. So that's really good. And so my hope is that human art is going to grow similarly. And I think it's just going to be incumbent upon us to educate the public about what it is that they're ingesting.
Yeah. And, there'll be a market for both.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have Oreos in the other room, man. Yeah. There's Ruffles. You know what I mean?
They're delicious.
I love Ruffles.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with Oreos. Yeah. But to your point of they use the term slop. I think it's appropriate in a way, because I think about what you're ingesting with all that. I mean, we grew up where it was we would drink Cokes all day.
My first Coca-Cola. AOL screen name was named after a processed snack.
You know what I mean? I remember drinking Nestea it was my job. I mean, the amount of sugar I drank as a kid is insane. So I think the slop thing makes a lot of sense. It's going to seem similar, right? Like a burger at McDonald's and a burger that you cook in your backyard. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah.
And does that mean that things are probably going to be a little smaller? Probably,
Yeah.
Does that mean it's going to be more intimate? Probably. But why do we paint in caves, man? Not to get, what does it mean to create? I think at some point we're going to have that reckoning,
Yeah.
At some point, I'm sure what made a book you know, at one point was like a monk has to sit down and write this book.
Yeah.
Right. But really, what a book is like one person trying to convey a message to another person. Like I think about another example. Portrait artists were painters at one point, and then this camera came along, and like maybe we need to think about ourselves more as like, okay, I I I as a music person, I adorn time. What does that mean? I don't know. But like, you know, I through audio, I adorn time. Maybe that's going to have some other meaning soon, cuz like anyone's going to be able to say, "Okay, make me a song that sounds like Billie Eilish," blah, you know. So who knows, man? It's strange.
Are you using AI in any way in the work that you do?
Sometimes. I mean, but not
In what way?
with a lot of content stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what's the best title for a thing that's this kind of video or blah, 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 blah. Like that kind of stuff that like, it doesn't necessarily like, it's a judgment call.
Yeah.
Like that to me doesn't bother me as much. And it's content. It's just like, hey, look at me, people. Like I'm making stuff in this weird world. I do not. I've found that like the stuff where you type in a prompt for music, I find it to be like, it's like the opposite of what I'm trying to make. You know what I mean? Even if I prompt it well, like it doesn't really do what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's the opposite like of what this whole thing is, man. Like humans pluralistically working together, collaborating towards a common goal, towards a thing so that we get you, the artist, to the speaker so that it connects with a listener.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to remove steps between the idea and the listener, right?
Yeah.
Like that feeling thing, that Alfred Hitchcock thing. Like the more I can remove processes and get it closer and closer to the speakers, that's better for me. So like I'm not, you know, I don't want Claude writing lyrics.
No. But I think like you mentioned before, like, you know, that moment of illumination where things come together. It's like a feeling, it's a gut feeling. And that's not something that AI can replicate. Like that's experience, that's emotion, there's so much more nuance to that. So even if you're trying to simplify and like get it as quickly as possible, like remove these processes, at least like you're relying on like your gut human intuition for like, what is the right call here?
Yeah. Yes. 150%. That feeling to me is like, I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that I've felt a lot of these things before when I've watched films or listening to songs or whatever. And so you're chasing that drug, that high, whatever, that feeling. And when you get little glimpses of it, like, that's it, you know? And so it's kind of like, there's no, at the end of the day, like music is 12 notes, man. It's 12 notes. But like that thing that you're talking about, like when I heard Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars as a 14-year-old little weirdo, and he's saying like, give me your hands, you're wonderful, you know, you're not alone, and all those kind of things like that. That's it. that's the whole thing. And look, if they can simulate that, great. But I think it's like, there's a lot of things that simulate things in our life, right? Like GMO food simulates organic, you know what I mean? Like we're currently making a podcast and creating like this parasocial relationship that people are going to listen to, right? And so like there's going to be things that like, there's going to be ways that people ingest AI art, right? And it's not going to be actual human connection. But maybe like you and I have had human connections as people in spaces and places, right? And we're doing that again right now. And so my hope is that becomes the thing that's the premium, right? The person making the cacio e pepe who cares about like the viscosity of the water with the new blah, 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 all those kind of crazy details. Like really at the end of the day, what you're eating is that person's devotion towards a craft. You're not eating the commodified good.
Right.
Right.
You're not having the craft.
And so,
like,
yeah, man. I mean, like you've been to Japan,
yeah.
right? Like we didn't get to go to Jiro's place, but we went to his son's place, and I cried my eyes out.
Yeah, we didn't do Jiro's place, but we did. Bourdain had an episode. I think it was Parts Unknown, not No Reservations, where he did Masa's Japan.
Yeah.
So we went to where Masa learned how to be a sushi chef, and it was.
Think about this, man. These people spend 6 years cooking rice, not picking up a knife, not picking out the fish, not doing all these things. That's 6 years of your life just cooking rice. Yeah. So when you sit down and eat this person's food, it's like you're not eating food. Like that was what moved me so much. You know what I mean? I was like, I am eating this person's devotion and their like life.
Yeah. I was moved. We went to like the Asahi beer bar, and I was moved watching the man pouring my beer, just his precision and making sure. It reminded me of like the Stella Artois commercials where like the knife and it cuts off the foam, but it was real life. Right. And it was just like, it's the perfect pour. And then like coming back, because I was living in Portland then. So coming back to Portland and like getting a beer at a brewery and having it basically like thrown at me, slop it all over the place. I was like, there's just no matter who you are and what you do, like how you present yourself and your craft, regardless of what it is to the world, is a reflection on you, the people around you, your society. I was like, I've never felt more at home in a place ever. I miss it every day.
Oh my God, I miss it too. I mean, like literally, when they hand you something, it's 2 hands towards you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's not the American, like, I'm being fat, that like throw it at you and keep
nonchalant,
moving.
just like, I don't really care about this. It's like, no, I care. Like this is me to you.
We're having the future to me, man. That or like the future I want to be a part of, at least.
Yeah.
The future where Ryan Coogler says, this is why it matters to shoot on 70 millimeter film.
Yeah.
The future of Adrian Lanker saying, this is why it matters, like that this is this. Because these performances aren't heavily edited. So it's like, it's super verite. Like that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting here wearing a Cahiers de Cinema, Jean-Luc Godard thing. Like
I like movies.
I like movies. Yeah. But like he has that thing where he's like, man, we don't have the budgets of these Hollywood pictures. We just need the camera to move from left to right, use the grocery cart. Who cares? We just need it to feel like this. And like, it creates this deeper amount of humanity when you get all that technology, and whether it's, physical technology or whatever, get it out of the way, man. There's going to be some rebellion.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like, but it's going to be, there's always been a campfire, proverbially, that we gather around, we cook things on the fire, we play drums, we sing songs, we imbibe, and we try to procreate to continue the human race.
The
campfire changes, the food changes, all these things change, but that's forever.
There's a great article I need to send you. I forget the exact title, but it's something like how likening the current state of social media as a community gathering place to the death of the mall.
Woo!
Yep. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's great. You'll love it. I'll link it in the show notes.
Really please. Yeah, link in the show notes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. But think about that. That was the mall. The mall was a campfire at one time.
Yeah.
The food was Sparrow and, whatever.
Oh, I loved the bourbon chicken.
Yeah, Panda Express, baby. Let's go. But, so I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I think it's kind of the thing that concerns me with these tools is we're so able to curate and cultivate and edit and perfect this thing that like we inherently disappoint people when we're like, it's like, oh, you're not as tall, or you're not as this, or you're not as that. Yep. Like, And I hope at some point, like, that becomes cool, that like you're not, like, your shortcomings become your unique little, what makes you a diamond in the
well, that's
thing,
like the truest sense of freedom is living your life without regard to how you're going to be perceived by other people.
Hell yeah.
And that is so challenging. The hardest. I just listened to an audiobook of The Courage to Be Disliked, and talking about, like how what their opinion of you is. That's their task. You're not in control of that. So you can only control how you're existing within the community. And like, community could be you and me, could be family ecosystem, could be your neighbors. It's also the entire world. Like, how are you existing as this living being in this space? And
I think that's so sick. Yeah. I love that. You got to send me that book.
Yeah.
I think that's also super important to like making things.
Yeah.
And like, everybody else is taken, man.
Yep.
So make the thing that you can make.
Yep.
Everybody else is taken. Like, Tarantino made those movies. You're not going to make a movie as good as Tarantino. You're not going to make a movie as good as Spike Lee. You're not going to make a song as good as Paul McCartney. Make your song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so I think that's the big, that's the scary thing with this algorithmic stuff and like the AI stuff is it's like,
create something authentic, but also needs to game the algo so that people it's being it's reaching people. And it's like, what's that fine balance of,
it's tricky, man.
Yeah, it's tricky. Let's talk about something that reaches so many people in this country.
I know where this is going.
Disney,
the mouse. Oh, thanks for bringing me up, Sarah.
What's making everybody? Wow, what a great guest. So Tom and I went to Disneyland like 2 weeks ago, and I'd never been to, I'd been to Disney World in Florida a few times, like years ago. This is the first time I've been to Disneyland, but I mean, like, they're the same thing. But we had the pleasure of, so we didn't get a chance to ride the ride because it was like 2 hours long, and I realized I was going to get drenched and I didn't want to be drenched, but we did stay in line for about 45 minutes listening to your diegetic music. And we're like, cool, check. We listened to John Michael's music. We did it. So how did you get involved with working with Disney?
Yes. Great question. Terrence Blanchard, first and foremost. So when I was burnt out and went and got my MBA, and I was like ready to leave entertainment completely just because a myriad of reasons, right? And then tried to go out into the world and work a corporate job and tried to get hired, but it was COVID and they were like, you're a pirate, go back to the pirate ship. And I'm like, no, I've learned your ways. Like, I'm ready to leave the seas of entertainment, to beat this metaphor. Absolutely.
No, keep it going. I love it. Yes, and.
Yes. And. And I quickly realized, like, oh wow, none of these people are gonna hire me because like they just don't, like, they don't get it, and like I'm gonna have to kind of build my own thing, and I'm gonna have to live this entrepreneurial life. And well, I guess I'm gonna go back to entertainment, but I got to do it differently. One of the first people I called was Robin Burgess, Terrence Blanchard's wife, and I said, like, Robin, you guys have conquered film. I want to go back to entertainment, but I want to do it differently. So, if there's ever anything I can do. And she's like, well, we got a jazz record and no producer and no budget. I was like, yeah, great. Sounds good. And then the second project we did, because I had earned fortunately, I think I'd earned some trust with Terrence and Robin and all those kind of things. The second project that we worked on together was doing the majority of the music for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, the ride that was going to replace Splash Mountain that you got to see. And yeah, it's all T, man. It like I'm super grateful for him. And it was such a treasure because, Terrence is constantly living in the future. He very much views himself and he is in the lineage of, Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, that kind of moving jazz forward, moving music forward, forward. And so it was such a treat. I was like, oh my God, I get to hear Terrence play like Louis Armstrong, like 1920s jazz. Like, holy shit, this is going to be incredible. And so once again, first audience member, I'm like, hell yeah, dude, this is going to be sick. And all the credit in the world to John Dennis, who's one of the creative executives over at Imagineering, who does like, the music for the parks. One of the first conversations we had, he was just like, look, we know we've hired the right people. I'm going to let you know when you're out of bounds. So let me do what you guys would normally do. Make the music as authentic and as real as possible. You guys are from New Orleans. You know that music. Like, just do it all the way, and I'll let you know when you're out of bounds. And for me, that was like a dream come true, and not at all what I was expecting.
Sure.
Right? I was like, please, Mr. Dennis, like, what can we do to? He was like, nah, man, come on. Which was so liberating. And once again, that trust thing of like working toward those two on that project really taught me how to lead a lot. That was a super big learning experience. And they gave me a lot of responsibility, which was great.
Talk to me a little bit more about like what leading in that capacity looked like.
Man, I mean, Terrence was just like, he didn't make it about him, and maybe that comes from his film composing side. Maybe it comes from being a sideman with Art Blakey or being a sideman with Herbie Hancock or whatever. Like, he really taught me what it was to serve a project and to serve a client, like in a certain way, to be like, and he brought all of himself too. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, he was, like we were pulling out like classic, amazing. I mean, one of the first songs we cut was Basin Street Blues, and it's a Louis Armstrong tune, and he's blowing all over it and kicking ass. But his leadership was very much like, he really taught me what servant leadership was, to kind of be like, this isn't about me. This is about, there, a lot of people would be like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to build my brand and do this, that, and the third. That's a very modern idea. And he was like, nah, like, this is going to last a lot longer than me. This is more important that we get this right. This is a reflection of New Orleans. This is a reflection of the first African-American princess in the Disney, canon. And this is about, that thing that we talked about. I mean, Terrence is a massive inspiration to me as a human and as a leader.
Yeah.
And so to be given responsibility to sort of like from him to say like, hey man, you got to help bring this into the can. Whether it was finding tunes or picking who was going to be the soloist on this or that or the third or whatever, casting certain things was massive. But like, he's an incredible leader, man. And like and John Dennis too. I mean, like, John, from the Disney perspective, they were egging us on. They wanted more of it. I mean, and they cut, we recorded some of it in August.
Oh, no.
In New Orleans. Hot as hell. The AC went out. Like, it was like, we were in
Was
it,
that
man.
intentional to like really like this? We wanted to really sound like we have to be in it. Like, that's like the method acting of recording.
I didn't do it. I didn't like sabotage the AC. Trust me. I was like, it was not, I'm not that brave. But no, it was, man, I mean, they were just the amount of freedom, and like the trust of like, we know that things that we don't know, which to me, like, as I get older, like that, that becomes something that I really admire in people, where people are like, this is where I'm great. This is where you're great. I'm going to empower you to be great in the place where you're great.
Yeah.
And just let me help you, let me use my greatness to, amplify your greatness. And so like, that was what that project was all about tonight, man.
That's amazing. Like,
I think it comes through. Yeah. I mean, like, I think it sounds like, I mean, it's real, man. It's like the Dirty Dozen and Soul Rebels and Prez Hall, and like, it's real. Like, these are, you know what I mean? It's not, Disney could have so easily written up charts, gotten great studio musicians in Los Angeles to play facsimile representations of what New Orleans music, like all those things. They could have easily done that. It probably would have been cheaper, You know what I mean? It probably would have been more efficient, whatever. But there's that thing when you get there, it is or it ain't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so once again, that was such an emboldening thing. It was just like, oh no, if thousands upon thousands of people are going to take this thing in, there is no shortcut.
Yeah. And I think about that principle, how Hitchcock approaches his films. Like, how are people going to be feeling when they leave the film? I mean, you're creating, and for those that don't know, and you had to educate me on this when we first talked about it, like the diegetic music is like, just like this I don't want to call it background music, but it's like the music that's happening. It may not be, I don't know if I'm even describing it right.
Yeah, no. So you're dead right. There's 3 types of music in film. There's film score, which is music that is happening like off screen, but it's meant to like pull at your heartstrings. Yeah. There are needle drops, right, which is like a song happens, right, and then there's a thing called diegetic music, which is basically like character X walks into a bar, there's a band playing on the stage. And part of the purpose of diegetic music is to create the environment in which you are in. And what does it mean to create an environment? It's to create authenticity, to create that feeling, to give you the thing, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. And to your point, that was another thing that Terrence was so great at, man. It was light as a feather, man. There was more laughter and joy. Like, he created this environment where we were all, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, but we were all laughing and just having the best time and just cackling the whole time. Yeah. And I think that gets to the speakers, man.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, I just don't think you can make joyful music under, duress.
No.
Like, I mean, maybe you can, but why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, and so, yeah, that so much of what we were trying to do was to cultivate a world, and to give it a feeling of like, this is what it feels like to be in New Orleans. This is what it feels like to, be immersed in that space. And so that was, and, fortunately, we had the best of the best musicians to do it.
And it sounded like it was like a stars kind of aligned project where they wanted it to have that feeling. They didn't want to just half-ass it, go to half measures. Like, they prioritize creating these memorable experiences where like every ounce of the park is considered. And
yes.
It was cool. Like, I mean, I wanted to go for Galaxy's Edge because I am such a Star Wars nerd.
Hell yeah, let's go.
And even just like crossing from whatever part of the park we were in, I think it was like Frontierland into Galaxy's Edge, the absence of music in that space. And instead what you're getting are little droid beeps and whoops and the swooshing of spaceships overhead and the clanging of, someone's working on a spaceship, that sort of thing. Instead, like, everything is so considered. It's like, how are people going to be feeling in this space?
Have you ever, to that point, do you know the company IDEO?
Yeah.
IDEO?
Yeah.
The design thinking kind of thing. Like, when I got introduced to that in grad school, I was like, oh, my people. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, I understand this, and they're so good at considering that. That's another thing, another props to John Dennis. Like, he told all of the executives that were there, he was like, look, this is not going to look like a Los Angeles film scoring session. We're going to walk in there and you're going to have this pang of anxiety because it's going to seem like nothing's happening. And then you're going to blink and it all happens.
Yeah.
And to have that kind of protection, like to the point of, creative's process, right? Like, for him to know, like, okay, this is not, film score, classical, like violin ones, etc. It's going to look like a hang, and then all of a sudden, whoop,
Yeah.
like, oh wow, it just happened. And then, and now all of a sudden everybody's dancing. Whoa. Um, his ability and Terrence's ability to cultivate that kind of environment was the whole thing. And so theoretically, if you can cultivate that environment while you're making it, right? Theoretically, it gets to the space when it happens.
Yeah. I think a lot about, so for my comedy film series that I do, Comedy 101, I showed a trio of films tail end of 2024 through early 2025. I showed Ghostbusters, Christmas Vacation, and then Groundhog Day. And I wanted to think about, like, these are 3 iconic 80s to 90s films. Like the sort of, you look at like Bill Murray and Chevy Chase and how, like, both are very early days of SNL. Depending on, Chevy is seen as a complete asshole. Bill has this cult of personality around him because of weird memes that sort of happen. So now, like, but they both have a history of bad behavior on set. So one is revered, one is reviled. And when I was researching for Groundhog Day, I read Violet Ramos's book. So her memoir about her father, and the way that she described like the set environment that he made for his crew, where it was always like a loving, nurturing set. He wanted to just set it up so that people were doing their best work. Like, yes, we're making a big picture, and yes, there's millions of dollars on the line, but this is a space for us to create art together, compared to, Murray, who is considered to be, from comedy roots to becoming a great dramatic actor. I mean, his on-set persona is just the nastiness that he has. So just thinking about, like, I mean, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. So, like, thinking about like this, like creating like cultivating like a warm environment to create art is like that safe space where people, we're all working towards the same thing here, and it's not about ego. And having that, having Dennis be that guide. So there's multiple levels of leadership happening here, from the people who are performing, who are producing, who are the ones managing the project. Like that through line of, there's no ego. We know what the goal is. There are positive presumptions here, and managing up and down. Like, this is a space where where art is going to happen.
450%. The only thing I might push back on is that, like, Bill Murray's job is not necessarily to cultivate a world. Like, his job is to create moments. And sometimes that, because I have people in my life who are like this.
Sure.
Not assholes, like, necessarily, but like they purposefully do certain things in order to try to almost create stakes for moments.
Okay.
And then they kind of like, so that they work themselves up into like this frenzy to where they then deliver in that moment. It's this really weird thing.
No, I get it.
And so like you know what I mean? It's not my way of doing things. But I'm thinking about certain people. I'm not going to name names, but like some people are always late. And what is it to be late? Right? You're really just trying to pull the spotlight to you so that everybody in the room is thinking about you and not necessarily thinking about the thing, right? Sometimes that could be good, right? Because then they can come in and dazzle you, because what they're really trying to do is raise the high wire so that this becomes a bigger trick. Is it always the best way? I don't know. It's not my style.
I think of it like, because Stephen Tobolowsky said during his time filming Groundhog Day that, Bill was really challenging on set, but man, he's just such a great actor. So like it becomes excusable. And I think about, I've worked on teams where you got one person on this team. It's like, we got this goal and we're all coming at it without ego, but you got if you have one person, it's like having like a rock in your shoe. And like, I can't walk around comfortably.
Yeah.
But then I think about like,
sometimes that can be good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like it. I don't like it personally. It's not the way I like doing
Yeah.
things, but some people lead that way.
Yeah.
It's not my style.
Yeah.
But like, because some people like people on edge. Because like, I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to do, if you kind of the through line between these two things is like back to that editor creator thing. Like, I think we're constantly trying to, in our own way, get the analytical mind out of the room when we're creating. And I think some people do it by pissing other people off and getting them into this kind of emotional ragey thing. Other people do it by cultivating like safety. Certain people do it by like, you know what I mean? Like imbibing. Like there's certain people who I know like this person is useless until they do X, Y, or Z. Like, you know what I mean? But like, I think ultimately the goal is like, how do we get the analytical mind out of the room so that we can truly play? But you're right. Sometimes one person's way of playing gets in the way of other people's.
It can. Yeah.
You know?
So thinking a little bit about like, I mean, I had such a fun experience working with you, creating the theme for this podcast. And it was such and my analytical brain was like on fire during all of it because I had never commissioned music before. And, you know, I've commissioned illustrations, animations, you know, the visual medium. I've commissioned a ton of that.
Yeah.
But the audio medium, I had never commissioned before, and I'd never been on the client side of that either, where I have the ideals that I hold very dear, which is like you trust the process. If you're working with somebody, like there's already a level of trust there. There's something within that working relationship that clearly, you know, you trust them with something that is so important to you. But then not knowing like, well, I don't know what it was going to sound like. And I don't know what kind of feedback can I give? What kind of feedback should I give? Is there any feedback? What do I know? What do I think I know compared to this expert here?
You know way better than I do who you are.
And that's what it came down to, you know, talking about, you know, we knew going into it, like what the content of the podcast was, that it was creating a safe space. It's open, there's kindness, there's vulnerability, but again, like the positive presumptions, like this is a space to highlight other people's creativity and their wonderful brains and how they work. But of course, because I'm a total goober, like there's going to be like some weird non sequiturs and some laughs. So like this is a comfortable space. So knowing that going into it, it was, you know, how do we? And I approached you too, like, you know, maybe I just could do stock. I don't really know, but like if you're into it, create this sort of thing. And you were like, I got it. And we talked a bit about like how much of it, you know, you use some phrases that I really loved, like it's hitting the thematic function, but also incorporating the personal sonics. And I was like, oh, are these phrases that people use in commissioning music? No. You're like, nah, that just came from my brain, man.
Yeah, no, I don't, but I think that's what it is. Like, right? We got a job to do. Like it has to do a thing, right? Like the function, right? Like creatives processing. It's one, a podcast. Okay. Two, it's about creativity. So like, you know, it's not going to be this mystery intrigue thing. Right?
We're not solving murders.
Exactly. So like, we got to do something. And then like, okay, so we're talking about creative. So like it has to, and like, it's also positive. So like, it's a major key. Like I'm trying to just create limitations. Yeah. Right. But what is it not? Right. Okay. So we're not solving murders. This is not politics. This is not this. This is not that. Great. Okay, cool. Let's put that all in a bucket. Okay. Store that. Now let's talk about Sarah. Okay. What do I know about Sarah? I know Sarah loves a certain type of film. I know that Sarah loves a certain type of music. I know that there are certain instruments that you gravitate towards. I know there's certain sonics or certain things that make you
My shirt
right?
today would suggest that I'm really into ska, and that was not
Hell yeah.
that wasn't on the playlist at all.
I was going new wave,
Ooh,
but yeah, fucking A,
prefer
dude.
that.
It's Scatolites
Yeah.
energy. But like, you know, and so like that's it. So the alignment point, like I'm trying to take, okay, this has to functionally do what we need it to do,
Yeah.
but it also has to be Sarah, right? And until those two things meet, it's not right, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and so that was so much of what it was to do that theme to me. And that's like every work. It's like, okay, you know, this, you know, it's also like, I call it like aesthetic anachronism. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, think about watching a Western and like if a plane flies over, you're like, what the fuck is that? That doesn't work,
Yeah.
right? Like we want this to feel like a podcast. We don't want this to feel like an old radio show, right? It's a radio play or whatever. Like, so that's going to feel different. Like, I'm going to mix it a certain way. I want it to be bright, right? Like it's got to play through a phone and little buds. And like, so, okay, it can't be too harsh, right? And like all these kind of considerations. And then like by the end of it, you just kind of, then you just throw all that away and try to run at it with those guardrails, you know?
Yeah.
I love rules, man. I love rules.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe that's like the baseball boy thing in me, but like, give me rules. I'll give you, you know, oh, we don't use real drums or we don't use or blah, 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 or we don't use. Great.
Well, a blank canvas is the most terrifying thing. Like a blank audio file, like record, done. What do I do? There's no guardrails. It's the possibilities are endless. So having rules defines, I mean, it's the same thing as like setting a goal at the beginning of a project. That's setting rules right there. It's giving me a guideline.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. What are we not going to do? Okay, great. And then playing in the things that you're going to do. And then it starts to like go, that doesn't feel like Sarah. Cause like there's a world where, you know, there's podcast music that's all synthesizers, right? Synthesizers and drum machines and beep, 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 beep. But that's not you.
No.
Right?
I love a synth, but
so
it's more than that.
We would have fulfilled the thematic function of podcast, but we wouldn't have had Sarah. There's a version of Sarah that's like, you know, totally rad indie rocker chick that's not giving us podcast.
Yeah.
And that would be equally as wrong. And I've, you know, and then it's just, okay, cool. It aligns. Like that works.
And I love the theme. I love it.
Hell yeah.
Like my process for evaluating it, since I had never, I mean, because I've evaluated stock music for like reels and TikTok videos before. And that's totally different. But I sat with it, on repeat a few days a week for like an hour at a time. And I just like let it earworm. I was like, does it earworm? Am I like grooving to it a little bit? Am I getting annoyed hearing it over and over and over?
It didn't annoy you?
Nope.
Oh, that's good.
No, didn't annoy me at all. And then I kind of found myself like humming it throughout the day. Just like,
that's a winner, man.
It was great.
That's a winner.
Because there's like some other podcast scenes that like will get in my head, and it could be a function of like how much I listen to them. But I mean, that's also a good thing for their numbers. If like they're listening to it so much, it's getting stuck in your head. That's maybe not a reason to come back for it, but it doesn't hurt.
It's also like, you know, like on TV shows, like they now have the like skip intro button. I sometimes
do it.
I know, but like in an ideal world, you don't want them to do it, right? Because theoretically, the thing is supposed to infuse what's going to happen next with, like, you know what I mean? It's the preamble.
Is there a show that you would never skip the intro to?
Sopranos.
I have never seen The Sopranos.
It's incredible.
I know. Actually, no. I've seen one episode. because a guy that I went to
I've
high
watched the
school was in
series
it.
8 times.
Oh, damn. I know. I need to watch it. I know I do.
Tip to tail, the whole thing 8 times. It's like a weird. I haven't done it in a while. I used to do it when I was like really depressed, and my wife would know, like,
Oh, boy.
John Michael's depressed.
Oh, no.
He's watching The Sopranos again. But like, and so I haven't watched it in a while, which is probably a good mental health sign. But yeah, man, it felt like just that theme music just would make. It was such a primer of like, woke up this morning, got yourself a gun. It's like, oh yeah, okay, like this infuses the thing with meaning. And it kind of like, it wouldn't, like I could still binge it and still watch that intro.
Yeah.
Is there one for you that you like the most?
I never skip the intro for Parks and Rec.
Oh yeah.
It really does set the stage. It's like so bubbly, and like it's not a song that really gets stuck in my head. But it brings me joy, and that show brings me joy, and it feels wrong to skip over it because it's a part of it.
Hell yeah. And to your point, like maybe this is my own nostalgia or our nostalgia of our like youth, but like I remember what it was like to hear a theme song in the next room.
Oh, yeah.
And then run in to watch it. Like that was a good feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the kind of, I don't know, like think about that clarion call. Think about that like kind of like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, it's this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's
yes. I love that.
That's a cool feeling.
All right. So you talked a little bit about you must be in a good mental state right now because you haven't watched The Sopranos in a long time. Like how do you manage? But I think a lot about like, the mental health concerns of like being a creative these days. And like, does your mental state influence your creative output?
Yes.
Yeah.
110%.
Yeah.
But I think it's like one of those things that I think it's like, I used to try to like get my heart broken to write heartbreak songs and all that kind of shit. But now like I realize like the more I can become whatever, or I can get into whatever space, and it's actually more potent if I'm more balanced.
Yeah.
And so like, stopping drinking and transcendental meditation is like everything for me.
Oh,
like meditating.
I am so. Can you tell me about how that's like a big part of your process now? Like be like the daily, is it a daily routine? Like when did you get into that? How did you get into that? What does it look like? Because I really know very little about it.
I've lapsed at times. So like but when I was 30, so 10 years ago, which is surreal to say, but 10 years ago, I was turning 30 and I wanted to do, I felt like, I was like, okay, that classic, like, oh, I'm turning 30. I got to do something for my life or whatever. And Kate, my wife, and I went to Arizona, went to Sedona.
Yeah, you did.
Did the TM thing.
Did you do the vortexes?
I know. Hell yeah, dude. The whole fucking thing. Like, absolutely. But it was funny because we originally had done it here in New Orleans. Like, we were going to see this person, but it was like in like Metairie, which is like, kind of like the Jersey of New Orleans, like kind of feeling thing. And it was like behind a Lowe's, and it was like not very aesthetic-y. And there was like a guy named Dave who had like bedhead. And it was like, I was like, Kate, what do you expect? She's like, I don't know, but it's just not this. Like, you know what I mean?
This isn't the vibe.
This is not the vibe. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, but it really came from David Lynch and his book, Catching a Big Fish. And like that book was so, and was so important to me. And, he is and was one of my heroes. Like, I think the thing I love about him is that he made absolutely uncompromising avant-garde art that resonated with the general public
for primetime television. Like, Unbelievable.
Dude, unbelievable. Like, it's insane.
It is.
How I don't know how it happened. I don't know what it is about him, because it's as weird as anything. But it resonates,
Yeah.
man. And so, like, that was always a thing to me that was like, he was so uncompromising, and yet he got what so many people who compromise are trying to get. And so that's always fascinating to me, is that, like, he really walked the, the path, that the least traveled path, and was rewarded for it. And so reading that book and kind of thinking about that and wanting that for myself, like, it's only been the last few years where it's really, really, like, I did it for a while and it was cool and it was good and it was like more of almost like exercise. Now it's like, it's really important for me. Like, it's like dire.
What do you do? Why is it different than regular meditation?
The only thing is that they give you a mantra. That's your mantra that no one else knows, and you are the only person who knows it. And apparently the mantras come, I don't know, like, I don't know about the hoodoo voodoo of it all, but, like, that's the only difference. And it's 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. I usually miss the evenings because I'm not that good about it, but, like, 20 minutes every morning, and you just repeat the mantra to yourself.
Oh, wow.
That's
so
it.
Going to Sedona was like to get the mantra.
Yeah.
Got it. And now I
There's
understand,
like 3 days of
going
practice.
to Behind the Lows was not the vibe to get
Not
the mantra.
the vibe. It was just not the vibe. Like, I mean,
the vibe would have been like half-gallon paint,
half-gallon
$6.99.
paint. Exactly. Do you want the flat or the shiny?
I want the eggshell. I want the eggshell. I want the eggshell.
You know what I mean? And so it was like, to me, it's a way of the idea. And his analogy, his metaphor is that, like, in day-to-day life, it's like the top of the ocean, which is really choppy and really violent and can toss you around. But when you go down deep into the waters, everything's calm.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, just as a metaphor, something that really appeals to me, you know, like, the world is going to get, is and will forever be chaotic, and seems to only get more chaotic as time goes on. But finding whatever it is to get you to that quiet place is just, that's, to me, that's because you're actually listening. You're actually, like, saying the things that you feel, and, like, and you gain confidence in that quiet, like, and to me, being alone is so important.
Yeah.
And, like, finding those kind of spaces for yourself. So like, it's everything, man.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, I mean, especially now too, in fatherhood, like, having that time for yourself to calm the waters and then be a calming parental presence for a blossoming rad kid,
She's sick.
She's the best.
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard. And I mean, like, look, every day you have that thing of, like, was this, like, the dumbest thing we could have done? You know what I mean? Like, to bring someone into this weird, dark world. And then you go, like, oh no, like, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to figure this out. You're tough, and you're, like, smart and, like, kind, and, like, and then you go, like, oh yeah, this is good. And being a dad's awesome, man. It's the best thing that ever happened.
That's
to me.
amazing.
Like, it really is, like, to the point of service, like, that was the first big one for me.
Yeah. And with you in your field and your wife, Kate, being an artist, like, having, what does creativity in your house look like?
It just is all the time. It's like, it's constantly happening. I think it's like, it's just, it kind of never stops, which is cool. I mean, like, But it's also nice, like, because when it gets to be in the evening time, we turn into mom and dad, and that's nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then sometimes little bits of the art creep in, and it's like, hey, Coco, do you want to watch Charlie Chaplin's The Kid? Can I show you and she loves Charlie Chaplin, man. I was
She's the
shocked.
coolest, man.
She's the shit. Look.
Didn't she love like the original
That's the biggest.
Nosferatu? Like,
Hell yeah, we did. Hell yeah, 1929, man.
ah,
Come on, Murnau. She's gonna know. Like that was a thing too. Like that's a big thing. Like to the creative side of things. Like and I guess processing too. I didn't grow up in a house that had a lot of like art and aesthetics and film and music and stuff. Like it wasn't like there was some, but it wasn't a lot.
sure.
Like I had to go find it, I had to go out and kind of meet people and, get people to give me their iTunes library so I could learn who Talk Talk was and whatever, like, what is this band that I've never heard, and so one of my big goals as a dad is to just be like, hey man, like, here's all this stuff. Like there's books everywhere. There's films everywhere. There's musical equipment everywhere. Just like bump into the stuff.
Yeah.
And like something, hopefully at some point, like, and if not, cool.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question. Like it'll be like a complete reversal. Like I'm going to become
an accountant.
Sure.
But like an accountant who has good taste.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. The coolest accountant ever.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Man.
So I think that's a lot of my goal with her is to just like, all right, let me introduce you to as much cool stuff as possible so that like you don't have to go out and find it.
Yeah.
Like I had to,
Yeah. I have one more question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
How have your interpretations of success and failure shifted throughout your career? I mean, I feel like we've touched on this a little bit, but not in these exact words. But I'm curious.
I think the shiny stuff, look, man, awards, accolades, all those kind of things are really nice in a lot of ways. They're quick shortcuts to be able to display and quickly communicate your value to others, right? Which is really nice. Like that's a really nice thing. But that's really all they are to me. Like the older I get, the more I realize that that's not what I'm fighting for. And I think like success success for me is going to be when I'm gone. Like, did I do it? Did I empty the whole clip?
Sure.
That's the goal for me now.
Yeah.
Is like, certain things are going to work. Certain things aren't going to work. It's kind of out of my control to some degree. And like, but if I just keep getting up every day and just like unload the clip, just keep putting stuff out into the world, and hopefully by the end of it, there'll be a nice body of work.
Yeah.
And that's what I think will be success by the end of it. And like, if I make good relationships with good people along the way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those bonds will never break, man.
Yeah. And like, we need that connection with other people.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do it alone, man. I don't know about in your world, but like there's like one human being who's been able to like write, record, play every instrument, and his name's Prince, and no one else is Prince. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like one of gabillions. Yeah. And like, but yeah, man, what else, like what else is the point but to like make great bonds along the way and like maybe leave some stuff that touches people and gives people a good feeling.
Yeah. I love, you've said before, like you turn resources and a vision into products and experiences that hopefully delight an audience. And I love like, you're adding the hopefully in there because like that's adding like the human element to it. Because if it's just like that delight an audience, that's really presumptive. But hopefully it's like this is what works for me. This is what I think is the right decision and what I'm putting out into the world. And maybe it resonates with you. Maybe it doesn't resonate with another person. But like, that's the most human part of it.
Yes. And because you're a historian of the arts and entertainment. I mean, some of my favorite films and some of my favorite records didn't do well when they came out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like The Night of the Hunter is one of my favorite films of all time. Charles Laughton, it's the only film Charles Laughton ever directed. Right? Charles Laughton was this incredible actor, British, classical, like Shakespearean, was in Spartacus, played the Hunchback of Notre Dame, played all these incredible roles. And he decided to direct one film. And I know why it failed. It's obvious in hindsight. It's like, it's a movie about kids, but it's like one of the scariest movies of all time. It's like got this German expressionist aesthetic, but it's a Southern Gothic film. It's like the weirdest, most specific. What does a marketing department do with that? You know what I mean? Like, and so like, I get it. Like, I totally understand. But then when you watch it, you're like, oh, this is just as good as Citizen Kane. Like, this is as good as anything that's ever been made. Right. But it was a flop. And Charles Laughton decided, I'm never going to direct another film again. And that like breaks my heart, because like, if I could go back in time and be like, Charles, here's what's going to happen. Okay. No one's going to get this now.
Yeah.
Okay. But 20, 30 years from now, Spike Lee is going to take your thing with love and hate, the tattoos on the hands, and he's going to make Radio Raheem. And it's going to be this iconic thing that happens in the 80s and everybody's going to love it. And you're basically making it. If you just keep making stuff, one of them's going to hit.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, or it'll be like an influence for somebody else's work, just like continuing the thread of just like inspiration.
That's the hopefully.
Yeah.
Because I mean, dude, go back and read Stanley Kubrick reviews.
Oh yeah.
That it was not, this is the greatest film ever made, blah, 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 blah. Pauline Kael destroyed 2001. And Pauline Kael's a brilliant critic. And 2001's a brilliant film.
There's a have you watched Doctor Who at all?
Sometime. I've seen a couple episodes.
There's
mainly the old school ones because of like the Delia Derbyshire like sound design stuff that they did.
All right.
Like the old school BBC.
Oh, so like the 60s and 70s ones?
Yeah,
oh man, I haven't even really bothered with that. I've seen a few of those. I'm like, nah, I like New Who. That's great. But
I get it.
There's an episode where the Doctor and one of his companions go back to visit Vincent van Gogh. And
perfect example.
And I highly, highly recommend you watch that episode, especially with Coco, because Vincent gets a glimpse into the future of the impact.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? You've been to the Musée d'Orsay.
Yes.
It's like half of the friggin' museum is him.
Yep.
And he did not sell a single
painting
in his lifetime. Not one.
And people hated him. They're like, this drunk, this crazy person. Like, of course, like back then it's like, oh, he's crazy. It's like, no, he was like, he had like health issues. Like, but just like it really like.
He was a damaged human, man. And like, that's the thing, that starving artist thing. It gets in the way, man. To me.
Yeah. But highly, highly recommend that one.
That's the hopefully, man. We're not in control of that.
But I think like, the approach that you take where you're looking to bring authenticity and realness and real human connection to the work, and thinking about like the overall end goal is like, what is the feeling that people are going to have coming out of this? Like it is so insightful. It is so, I think it's smart too, because otherwise like you're creating for other people, like the unknown. And yes, there is part of like, creating for an audience and knowing like who is the target audience, what is the thematic function, but you're creating something that is aligned to your truth and your values and what you want to put out into the world. And, it's not going to resonate with everybody, but like if it did resonate with everybody, it's like, does it have any feeling to it?
I got to be kind of suspicious of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no feeling there. It's just,
and you know this, Sarah, like I'm just trying to give people what all this art has given me.
Yeah.
That 14-year-old kid who was like, David Bowie, man, whoa, I'm not alone, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so it's just that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the goal, man. If we can do that over and over again,
yeah.
the rest of it will work itself out.
One very quick, silly question before we
Yes,
go.
ma'am.
If you had a time machine and just for one night, and you could go back in time to see any live performance, so it could be the opening night of Star Wars, it could be the Beatles, like at the Cellar or whatever venue that was. Like, what would it? What would you? Where would you go and why?
Man, that's tough. That's really tough. You know what I would want to say? I would love to have seen Little Richard in the 1950s. To me, he is like the most insane, rebellious thing that has ever happened in popular culture. I mean, the idea that this like gay, black dude is singing this like wild music to middle America through a television is like, that's about as subversive and insane as you can get, in the 1950s. Yeah. And so like, I would love to go see like one of those shows. Yeah. And just see what that felt like.
And being around those people having their minds blown.
I mean, it would literally be like looking at a Martian. Yeah. I think these, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it would be like, holy shit, this is not of Earth. This is not of human. Like, you see those kids like breaking chairs and doing all that crazy
like
shit.
girls like pulling out their hair. It's like like there's like such emotion is happening that they don't know how to contain it.
I would love to see that. Yeah. Cause like we're beneficiaries of the internet and like being able to one click and anything that you've ever seen ever is like right there. Yeah. But to be in that space at that time when that's happening, like to just feel what the air felt like. Was it humid? Was it sweaty? Yeah. Was it weird? Like how did people carry themselves? What did they react to? Like, was it, just that whole thing? I think that would be just, fascinating. Oh,
I love that. Well, John Michael, this was so lovely. We've had so many conversations recently, just like catching up and working on podcast music together, that I feel like this chat was only like a glimpse into just how insightful and inspiring. Just connecting with another human, just existing as a human in a space with another person, and just talking about the things that we do and why.
Thank you for creating space for me, man. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. You can explore what John Michael is working on at hereintheblueroom.com and follow them on Instagram and TikTok at @ThatJohnMichael. John Michael's transformation from seeking validation to serving others captures something essential about creative maturity. His story reminds us that the void that we feel, whether it's the absence of the right mentor, collaborator, or opportunity, might actually be what we're meant to provide for others. The Hitchcock principle he shared, starting with how you want people to feel, is deceptively simple but fundamentally transformative. It shifts the focus from what we want to express, from what we want to create in the world. His point about collaboration being the most punk rock thing you can do in 2025 feels especially urgent in our hyper-individualistic culture. What strikes me most, though, is how John Michael's success came not from compromise, but from going deeper into authenticity while serving something larger than himself. Thanks for listening to Creatives Processing. If you found value in today's conversation, please rate the episode and share it with someone who might benefit from these insights. You can find me and my creative studio, Word of Mouth, at wordofmouthcreative.co, or connect with me directly on Instagram at creativesprocessing or by emailing creativesprocessing@wordofmouth.co. Till next time, stay human, stay curious. Thanks for listening.